People, deluded, I'm back again. Q&A day. Now it's on a Saturday, folks. Forgive me, you don't know I normally give you stuff on time and on a consistent basis, but I decided to take a break yesterday, recharge my batteries, and just, yeah, deal with stuff in my personal life and get things together, to be fair with you. So, sorry for the delay, people, but each and every time, thank you very much for the Q&A questions. You've asked me via Twitter, via Snapchat, via a whole bunch of different sort of things, people, man, and it really does. What can I say, man? I can't put into words. Without you lot, it can't happen. So I've wasted a lot of time. I've delayed you lot a lot. So let's crack on, man. First question is Aussie Gooner asks is, hey DG, everyone talks about how we need a Ramsey replacement, and I agree we need a midfielder. But I believe Joe Willock can develop into the Aaron Ramsey role by getting played more. What's your opinion on that? Well, you hit the nail on the head. He can develop into the 10 sort of position. You've seen he can do all right there. Previously, I saw him coming up on the wings at Arsenal through the academy, and he's made the transition into a central midfielder. Feeling the 18 months, he's developed a lot physically, and there's a lot of promise in this there. He can play in the slightly more advanced role that you saw Aaron Ramsey. I think he can develop into the deeper role, a sort of midfielder with greater responsibility. Either way, you said it yourself. Whether it's to develop into the Ramsey role just to get better, he needs to play more. And that's why I say in a lot of my vids, if I'm him and Eddie, excluding Nelson and Emil, you need to go somewhere you're guaranteed football. Now, there's no guarantees in football. What I mean by that is, if Emery says, listen, you're going to get more first team next season, but you have to earn it, then cool, that's good. Because that means if Joe Willock trains all week, he has a good chance of competing with Xhaka and all of these other players likely to start for a first team spot, people. But more often than not, him and Eddie have been there for depth purposes. Yes, he started in Europa League and he's come off the bench in the final and he started in the league and things like that. But the minutes to travel ratio isn't enough, and minutes is currency. So you hit the nail on the head. He can develop into any role he wants to, but he has to go somewhere he has to play. Him and Eddie need to be selfish next season. A lot of these players need to be, because the end goal is being professional footballers and developing. And I feel a lot of them might have to step outside their comfort zone next season if they want to develop, to be fair. He's 20 in August, forgive me if I'm wrong as well. So, and I feel he's just too good for 23's football. So you could say he could develop into that role. But would fans have the patience? They'll be you see how they praised Joe Willock for, even though he missed the tap-in against Chelsea, more or less. You saw how they praised him when he come off the bench for showing heart. But these same fans, not all, but a small section, were getting at him when he started against Newcastle a few years ago. So fans are very fickle. Fans don't know what they want. So if people can stand behind them, then great. But I just hope people show the same energy sort of thing, if you get where I'm at. So I guess he could develop, my guy, but minutes is currency, bro, really and truly, if I'm honest with you. Apologies, people, it's early in the morning. Imagination Machine has asked me, do you want to get into management? I'm open to anything, my guy, man. Whether it's this media thing, whether it's the coaching thing, the scouting thing. I just want to better my life and get out the ends, man. And who don't want to do that? And who wouldn't, man? Anything in football, really, man. Anything. Once you get in one, you can kind of manipulate yourself and maneuver and stuff. But anything, my guy, man. Anything. You lot know me. I just love the game. Apart from being a referee. You've also asked me, why doesn't Robbie not put I cannot read today. Why does Robbie not put you on Arsenal Fan TV? You'd have to ask the big man yourself, man. Shout out to Robbie, he's a cool guy, but you'd have to shout him yourself, man. I don't have an answer. I mean, the door's always there, but he's a busy man, probably dealing with his own stuff in his personal life. I mean, Arsenal Fan TV is touching, or AFTV better yet now, touching almost 1 million subscribers. So from a commercial base, from a logistics sort of base, Robbie's a busy man and he's probably dealing with 100 things every day, but it is what it is. I mean, I'd be open to it. I guess it comes down to, what's the right word? Trying to find the right word. What's the right word, man? Not popularity. What's the right word? Demand. I mean, I'm not sure if there's too much demand for me on AFTV and my own show and things like that. So you'd have to ask Robbie. Of course, I know my thing. Of course, I'll give you lot quality. But at the end of the day, it boils down to numbers and it's the game, innit? So you'd have to speak with Robbie. I don't have an answer for that, man. But shout out to Robs. Cool guy. Moving on. I always mess up your name, you know, and it's so basic. No disrespect. DNM9 is asked. Rabiot and Partey, you're talking about the Atletico Madrid lad, right? Or Xhaka and Torriera. I'd rather Xhaka and Torriera, you know, not because of Xhaka, but just because of Torriera. I think Partey's good. I like Rabiot, but I like my guy Torriera, man. Got a lot of bias in that question there, but yeah. Mike asks, do you ever thought about doing something like an hour-long podcast? I could listen to your thoughts for hours, man. Thank you very much for your support, Mike's, man. It's stuff like that. These sort of things in my Deluded Thoughts videos what I talk about, like, them sort of comments there is overwhelming, and I don't know how to comprehend that, really. But I'm trying, my guy, man. That's something I want to move forward with next season in some capacity, man. Told you, I'm actually shook to do a podcast, but I feel obviously a lot of you have asked for it, and I think that's one thing we've got to move into. Like, apologies. Like, I see a lot of comments about merchandise, about podcasts, and what's the other one? Live stream, and all these other things. They're the things I'm trying, people. When you lot are calling for these collabs and things like that, to be honest, I'm not in the collab thing no more. What I mean by that is obviously I'm open to things. Get me, I'm on the collab thing, but I'm not on reaching out to no one and stuff. 'Cause I did it for you lot. Every YouTuber you lot told me to. I'm not normally. Like to do my own thing. I don't really like to bother people. But every YouTuber that you lot have suggested, I've followed them, and legitly, unlegitly, don't want to do it, not want to do it, don't deem it worth their time. That's all cool. Like, I'm not bitter or nothing. It's just half of these guys are weirdos, and I wouldn't holler you in real life. So like, it burns to holler these sort of people, not because I want to, it's because it's do it for you lot in regards to not being ignorant and things like that. Like I told you, lot, my initial reaction is F everybody in it. If you're not with man, then I don't need you in it. But for you lot, in the name of content, I've reached out, and everybody's got some excuse or whatever, and I'm not, the making man feel important stuff than you already are. So I'm not gonna be up your ass and chase you like a male that wants to really get with a girl. I'm not gonna chase you, innit? So I'm open to doing a podcast. There's a couple things. That's definitely one, my guy. YouTube, I kind of fell into it by mistake, and we kind of got comfortable. Podcast, I don't have a clue in it. Like I said, I'm only one man, and I'm really trying, people. So give me some time, and you'll see different content. And you don't know me, man. I'd like to think a lot of you that have been here from couple hundred subscribers to what, over 10,000 now. You've seen some sort of development in some capacity. Obviously there's development ways that I can comprehend, and there's stuff you can't comprehend. I don't think I say names better, but I might pronounce names better. My delivery might be better, and you lot see improvement and stuff, and you lot give me a lot of positive opinions and a lot of constructive criticism. I take it all on board, man. Moving forward, thanks for your question, Mike. Michael Smith has asked, another Michael, well, assuming Mike's name is actually Michael and not just Mike, no disrespect. I understand the need for multifunctional players, but why do so many players keep playing out of position? I guess it's a gift and a curse, my guy, man. I think it's a gift and a curse. If you're multifunctional, you can be used in different ways, but I guess that's the way football is now. Personally, I think positions are overrated. Obviously, there's positions on the pitch. Man are playing midfield, centre back, right back, whatever. But look at the movements people are changing and the interchanging movement. That's what football is about, man. There is a lot of jack of all trades, master of none in the game, I agree. I don't have the specific answer for it. I just think it's a byproduct of the dynamic we're at in terms of the game. And you've also asked me, how do you think it would impact us by playing players in their proper position? Of course, when you look at guys like Maitland-Niles, I know he said he wants to be a winger, but he's a central midfielder. He might have better performances if he played in his natural position, and maybe some fans would get off a man's back if they saw them playing in that position. So yeah. Pastor Orcs has asked, I played this team 4-4-2. Do you think that this team is good enough to get top 4? And second, do you think it will get rid of the top of the dead wood? You've gone for... I think you've got a lot of players here, my guy. You've got Leno, Buffon, Bellerin, Meunier, Manolas, Holding, Socrates, Saliba, Turney, Xhaka, Torriera, Willock, El Nene, the usual suspects, and you've got Claude Maurice along with Eddie and Nketiah. It's a squad, I must admit, it's more of the same. This team missed out by top 4, I guess, and they've brought in 2 centre-halves, so I guess they could go for top 4. Buffon's a myth, he's not going to play really and truly, and he's not going to sign here, and to be honest, he's not the Buffon he was. Manolas is a myth as well. It'll be a good signing of Meunier at fullback. I guess it could get top 4, and I don't think it necessarily clears a lot of dead wood, my guy, man. I know there's no Mustafi there and no Kola, but you've only got 1 left back, for example. You can see the obvious issues there if something was to happen in the season. Thank you for your question, though, man. Nick asks, would you rather sell Oba/Lacazette if it meant using the funds to bring in Pepe? Well, Lacazette's, you've seen the 70 million moves, you've seen the same for Aubameyang, and Pepe's going to cost that. I mean, it depends. I mean, if it really depends. I think we need a winger. But if I was to sell Aubameyang, for example, Pepe would score goals, but how many would he score in the league? Do I have the confidence as good as Lacazette is to score 22 league goals? Again, that's not a criticism of him. He's a bad boy player, but you remove Aubameyang's 22 goals and where would we be? Yes, there's criticisms and stuff like that, but that's a striker guaranteed 20 league goals in a season. You've seen it now. You need that. Whether you're going to get top 4, win the league, you need that. And if you're going to sell these sort of players, these players come with a premium. Like, I think it's very simplistic to believe that Arsenal selling Aubameyang, for example, not saying you said this, but just based on links, selling Aubameyang for 70 million is and rebuilding our squad is going to work. Yes, it sounds great in paper, people, but do the maths. How far is 70 million going in football nowadays? Let's just say you did get the 70 million on top of the budget. That would allow you to sign a left back, a centre half, and probably a winger or midfielder. But let's be honest, 100 odd million doesn't stretch that far in football unless you're going for low profile players. And then even if you did fix up everywhere, people, to replace Aubameyang's goals and whatnot, regardless of needing it anyways, would you not need a winger or a striker? Typically, are these players not going to come with the 50 to 60 upwards million pounds, people, which we might not have, maybe even 70? And plus, people are going to know Arsenal desperate, so we're going to get zanged more. So yeah, it might selling Aubameyang his age and getting that deal for a 30-year-old would be good, and it would allow us to rebuild. But in terms of replacing the quality in terms of goals, you're going to need people that can hit the ground running, and that's going to come with need for more money. So we'll be fixing holes in one side, and then the holes are leaking on the other. So it's a very simplistic way of thinking, in my opinion anyways. But I wouldn't sell neither, to be fair with you, at this moment in time. Just let one of the young G's do the wing thing, and just for me, I'm not going to stop the propaganda on the centre half and left back. Just fix up the defence and we can go forward with anything. Hopefully that answers your question. Blacks has asked, do you think we overestimate the amount of funds coming into our club in comparison to other Premier League top 4 teams? And what are your realistic targets for the team next season? I'm not too sure in terms of funding, my guy. I only deal with what I see in reports. I make a regular basis of. I'm just a fan. Talk about transfers. I'm not finance man and pretend to know the funds and stuff. I don't know, my guy, man. I really don't know. I can't answer that question. In regards to realistic targets for next season, it's simple as that. You just have to go for top 4. That's it. I don't think we can do it at this moment in time, but that's the immediate improvement. You get back into the Champions League, something that's been not here for 3 years, and then that gives you a chance. So it's just top 4. It's just top 4 and improving beyond the obvious defensively and stuff like that, my guy. Next question is, I believe Max, forgive me. If Emery were to leave tomorrow, who would you appoint as a manager? God knows, my guy, man. That's a good question. God knows. And you probably asked me that question too early, sorry. God knows. Good question, man. I mean, people will say what they want about Allegri. I quite like him as a man, so if he is available, why not? I'd probably, again, I don't have any specific names, but I'd probably go for Nagelsmann or a young sort of manager, fresh with ideas, that presents a bit of a risk, man. Because I do, as much as I like Emery, I do believe he ticks a lot of boxes and is kind of safe within that appointment. And my thoughts in regards to Longberg being appointed into the role is he deserves it, and I've made a video on it, so that's go and watch that for my extended thoughts. But he deserves it, and it's nice to see people are promoted. Personally, I think a big part of that is because a lot of academy players might be having cold feet because Emery just simply hasn't used the academy. You bring their former manager into the first team setup, and they might think, let me stay or let me wait or something, because they've seen my man. So hopefully that answers your question. Marcus Scotty's asked, when's the merchandise dropping? I think I kind of answered this, bro. I'm trying, man. Give me some time, man. T-shirt soon land, man. Hoping by the end of summer, to be fair with you, man. I've got a lot of stuff to pattern, man. It will drop, man. Trust me, you'll see it. But that's your question. Rochi's asked, what would Decore's role at Arsenal be? He'd be playing box-to-box midfielder, in my opinion. Tavin's asked, could you rank these players in terms of potential? My guy, Tavin, you know I hate these questions. You said Jules, Conde, I can never say his name, the Bordeaux lad, Saliba, Boubacar Kamara, and Mangala Sarr. They're all decent players, man. They're all decent players. I'd say Saliba. I don't know, it's tough. I'd say Saliba, Kamara, because I think once Kamara gets the stupidness out of game, he can be decent. Mangala Sarr and Jules, a toss-up between them, to be fair with you, but it will probably change as I do this video and start thinking about it. Diabolical. There's never a Q&A that this guy hasn't asked the question. Big up yourself. What's your thoughts on England's under-21s? Well, considering we basically went out of the Euros, disappointing. It's been a disappointing summer for England's youth side. 17s didn't have the best of times in the Euros. 18s got to the final, fair enough. 19s, I ain't seen them in action. Are they in the under 19s Euros? I'm not sure. Under 20s, you've got obviously the under 20s. They didn't have the best of times in Toulon, and the 21s messed up. I do think they have to get rid of AD Boothroyd. He is a dinosaur, and some of the call-ups are baffling, but it is what it is, to be fair with you. I just think it's, yeah, man, we've got some promising players, and you need a decent manager to take them to the next level. Omar's asked, are you worried about the fact we haven't signed anyone yet? Of course, but at this moment in time, it's not even July yet, so we'll see how it moves. Would you let Torriera go for 70 million? I am always happy, he's asked. In an ideal world, everyone's got a price, but not right now with all the current mess that is Arsenal's team. Again, like Aubameyang, you could take 70 million for Torriera and rebuild, but I believe Aubameyang, Torriera, Lacazette, to a degree, Socrates, Holding, the one sort of players that can kind of make a spine, you have to keep them for now. So yeah. You've also asked me, can Ozil possibly have a good future at Arsenal? I believe the Ozil saga is one that is closing. It's got, 2 years left if he does stay. You never rule out, man. If him and Emery can get together and Ozil can put in consistent performances, fans will get behind him. And like you see, fans are fickle. The same fans that are using their platforms to bash him and get ratings up will be the first ones up his bum. So we'll see, man. Kieran's asked, what do you think Joe Willock's best position is? To be fair, I actually think it's in more of a withdrawn role in midfield, my guy, to be fair with you. We'll see, man. It's an interesting one. He shows he can play a couple of midfield roles, so we'll see what happens. Mike Hunt has asked, could you see Torriera moving? No, I don't. At least for now as a fan. Anthony Thomas has asked, should we replace Xhaka with a more dynamic midfielder to pair with Torriera? Of course, my guy, you need someone. Specifically who, I'm not sure. But you do need someone, because I do believe Xhaka is not mobile enough. Whether it's helping, stopping crosses, whether it's covering wide areas, simply tracking back on. Just on top of having no defensive bone in his body, he is quite slow, and it does let us down. And we do get overrun a lot in midfield. Like you saw against Leicester when we went 4-4-2, or you saw in the Europa League final, the last game of the season. Hopefully that answers your question, my dude. Jack the Ripper's asked, are we officially a sub-topper for the next decade? Are our best years behind us? Do you still think we'll challenge for the league in the next decade? My guy, I don't know. I'm a fan like you. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm watching it like you lot. We'll have to see, man. I wish I could give you the answer. Or I could be like that guy, the three-eyed raven in Game of Thrones, and look into the... Well, no, he looks into the past. Or whatever he looks into, but I can't. But I don't know, my guy, man. I really don't know. I'm just a fan in my room, like you see here, hoping for the best like you, my guy, man. Quabina, forgive me if I'm wrong, I like your name. Not in a funny way thing if you're a male. But can you see the New England squad coming up like the French national team with the likes of Sancho, Nelson, Hudson-Odoi and the others of a black background? And how do you expect the media and older England fans to respond to this change? Well, many England fans in general will not care, really and truly, if you're black, white, whatever. If you're wearing 3 lines, you're 3 lines, innit? We're a multicultural country because of the obvious reasons. Of course, there's some people resistance to it. Of course, you get small sections of racism. Just look at Raheem Sterling. Of course, I mean, I don't know about like the French, because both sides have had a lot of black players in their side. It doesn't matter if it was 98 or 2018. Look at the French side, how many ethnic minority players there are. If it weren't black players, Algerian or Moroccan descent. So, like to think so. And who knows, man. With obviously Lingard's a bit of a twat, in my opinion. But I feel one thing the media is resistance to is the fact that these players don't hate each other. Like, Lingard and Sancho will be chilling. Sancho and Dele Alli, an example. Maitland-Niles will be chilling. Again, it's a dead example. But the rivalry thing seems kind of dead. Sterling's with everybody. And stuff like that. So I do think it is changing. And I do think with the whole Snapchat and all of these sort of things, these players are going to be targeted more. But I think it's actually a better thing that these players... Of course, the rivalry is still there, but they're not killing each other. Like Lingard and Sterling are not punching each other in the face as they see each other. It helps with the chemistry sort of thing. So we'll see, man. Most fans will get behind it. Most fans don't care if you're black, white, young, old. If you're playing for England, you're playing for England. So we'll see. But obviously, there is racism. And in 2018, 2019, you've seen the rise in it. Or not even the rise. People coming out the woodworks brave enough to not do it behind closed doors. Mohammed asks, is playing Martinelli and Nelson as 2 of our starting wingers a risk? Probably, because they're both inexperienced, but I don't think Martinelli will be starting initially. And I'd love Nelson too, but it feels like he's got to earn his space in Emery's squad. To be fair, they can't do any worse if they did start together consistently than some of the players last year, so it's not a risk really. DS Boss has asked, if Emery fails to get us top 4 next season, can you really blame him as he hasn't been backed with money? I believe yes you can. Yes you can and yes you can. Do I have sympathy for the money? Yes. Do I think he's been given a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing? Of course. But at the end of the day, no one put a gun to Emery's head and told him to take this position. He knew the lack of funds that'd be available. He knew it was a scouting thing and it was a head coach thing working together with people behind the scenes. He might have been hoodwinked, but he knew it, people. So while I have sympathy with having to manage the likes of Mustafi, no matter what way we shape it, he knew the role, there was no money, and he knew to a degree coaching is a big part of it. Can he get the best out of some of these players that are underperforming, like some people said when we went 22 unbeaten? Can he develop some of these young players? Nobody's expecting him to do fireworks, but these are things in it, people. While I have sympathy, there's two sides of everything, and to a degree, I'm not saying he relished it, but if you look at it, yes, people are asking him questions, but joining Arsenal, for all the wrongs that allegedly are at the club, it allowed him to grow a team, to develop players and things. And like you just said yourself, if he underachieves or something, me myself, I've got more blame with the players, or we're looking at the backroom structure. So that's a sort of luxury as a manager versus PSG, where there's a lot of scrutiny on you. I mean, if you cut your hair a certain way, everyone's writing a document about it. So there's no way around it. So I have sympathy for Emery, but if he does fail to get top 4, regardless of how impossible it might be, question marks have to be asked. For me, away from the top 4 is how we shape up, because as much as I like him and his tactics and stuff, there's not really... Again, I don't believe in one set way, but I do believe you should have one set way of playing, doing things, and then deviate as games demand. So we need to see a bit more of that. I still think there's a lot I haven't seen. I just want to see promising signs. I've seen some promising moments, but if we're moving gradually in the right step with the young players and stuff, and nobody will be expecting fireworks, but if we're moving in the right direction, then he deserves to keep the role. But if we're not, then I'm sorry, as much as I like Emery, he's got to keep it moving, because I have sympathy for the lack of finances, but... no one put a gun to his head when he signed up for this job. You know everything that entails, people. And for Emery's part, he said he knew all of these young players, and you look at Tutu, regardless of if he's good enough or not, if he deemed he's not, then cool. He had issues at right back. He never played him. Centre half, some of these young players could have got opportunities. He never played them. So there's a lot of issues, man. There's a lot of issues. I think that takes us to the end of the Q&A. So on that note, I'm going to keep it pushing, people. Deluded as usual. Thank you very much for the questions. I'm out.